Hey, Paul Yaffe here, Paul Yaffe's Bagger Nation, and today we have this brand new 2024 Street Glide on the lift, and we are going to install one of our new Stealth 3 license frames specifically for the 2024 model. They've got the new plug on them, and Jaden here is going to just real quick walk you through taking off this big trailer hitch looking thing and replacing it with our sleek hidden LED license plate frame. So hang out, check it out.
Alrighty guys, so we're going to start with the tools needed to do this job. Some kind of a 10 millimeter, you can use a wrench or a ratchet, quarter drive preferably, because we'll end up reaching up in here. We have a T27 for removal, a number 1 screwdriver for our license plates, and then we have some various fabrication tools to cut and trim the license plate in order to make it fit. And then there's a little bit of trimming on a plastic piece inside of here. So let's get started. Let's start by taking the license plate off so we can gain access to the fasteners that hold on the OE license plate mount. Just a little plastic piece in the way, pop that off. Up inside, it's kind of hard to see, but we have a plastic piece and a cover that needs to be removed. And it basically just pops up and you pull it out. So that piece inside of there is like this. So what you are doing is you are reaching up inside and popping that off. What that's going to do is it's going to give you access to this connector retainer, and that connector will just kind of pop off of there nice and easy. And then we will unplug the connector. It's very simple. I can show you an example of it. It's physically pressing this tab down and pulling it apart. And now we can take our T27, remove these 2 fasteners, just kind of hang out in there, and then this whole piece comes out. That's it. You set it aside. Now we're going to remove this piece, which is just like a pinch. You see we've modified this because we no longer are using the brass inserts because our bolts go through this way. So now we're going to do a little trimming and cutting. Pretty simple to do. If you have a Dremel, that'd be great. You could use a hacksaw, you could use a number of things. But basically the goal is to trim off this brass insert and then trim off what sticks through here. So I'll have to remove that. We do end up using the OE bolt holes, and then all this gets covered. We're just going to really quickly same on both sides. If you're more comfortable with putting it in a vise, it's plastic, so it's just kind of be careful with what you're doing. And then we're going to be careful and we're going to trim this off too. Same idea. Okay, if you want to get fancy with it, you can take a little sander and take something to shove it out of there. Just take these out. So now we have our piece ready to go, because this holds the connector. Now we're going to take our parts bag. There's 2 things that are really important. The hardware that we'll be using. You can use one of two things. It all threads in the same. I think for the thickness we end up using probably the longest fasteners with a lock washer and a washer. We'll use the large. We'll use these. The reason this has extra fasteners is for other applications as well. If you don't have the plastic piece, you would be using the smaller fasteners like the older fenders, 9 to 13, so on and so forth. But we'll use the longest with a washer and a lock nut. And we'll also use this foam pad. That'll be installed in a little bit. And then this harness kit, this connector kit, is for also earlier models, certain CVOs. But typically, if you have a 23.5 CVO or a 24, you're just going to be using what comes on the license plate. So we'll just set all this stuff aside and get going on our license plate. We got to fit the plate to this. So what we're going to do is disassemble all the screws. I like to mock all this stuff up before you start using Loctite. Got to make sure that the license plate is trimmed to fit. Okay. There's a little grommet. This is already terminated and done. So just kind of guide this guy out of there. Just set it aside. So first and foremost, you have to think about how this is going to be installed. In order to cover up the upper hole as well as the lower bumper tab, we have been installing them this way. Other models that don't have this hole, they can be installed this way, and we have included a Bagger Nation coin sticker to go over that bumper stud. But on the 23.5s and 24s, they can be installed this way, and that covers all of the existing holes and keeps the license plate nice and low. So, with that being said, we're going to now take our license plate. We're going to kind of pre-curve it a little bit, and just kind of bend it around your knee a little bit, and then you're going to want to mark out where the wire is going to go through. So I'm probably just going to cut this here, and I may have to do a little corner trimming. Every state's license plates are different. Just cut it to fit.
Every other state is wrong, right? It's just ours.
You can use a file to kind of take the sharp edges off. Alright, and then we'll do a quick test fit. Looks like we're still contacting here. Maybe a little bit down here. As long as this sits flat in here. Yeah, I'm going to cut a little bit more off. Looks like right here. Maybe a touch on this corner. Yeah, it's still sitting pretty tight. Maybe Maybe the whole top's got to get trimmed. So now, we'll slip our license plate in here one last time. Nice and centered. We'll look to make sure we can see everything. We're going to reinstall the backing plate. And just be careful with the wiring as you pull it through. We'll just double check that we're good to go. These are very, very small screws. I like to use just a touch of Loctite. Not too much. We'll get some started here and then and always be careful with Loctite around painted parts. Loctite can damage the powder coating and the painted parts, so just wipe it off when you can. Now we have our foam pad. Just pop the little die cut pieces out of there. We're going to end up sticking this on here. Just like that. Now we'll prepare our bolts that will be used to install. And remember, we have the plastic piece that sits up in there. I'll take this, tuck it through. I'm going to kind of keep this along the side and along the top. Just kind of in the foam area. This is where it gets kind of tricky. You've got to hold a couple things to pull our wire through. To where you see it on the other side. It might help you get it started. Okay. Make sure your wires aren't getting crushed too bad. Okay. Now we're just going to get it nice and straight. And you can go ahead and tighten the fasteners. Okay, now we got to get the connector plugged in. If you need to, it'll only go in one way. If you want, you can use like a headlamp and look up in there while you connect it. Getting the connector into the spot that it sits in. Okay, there is excess wire. Just make sure it all is inside of the little plastic housing. I'm gonna grab a flashlight just to make sure all our wiring is where it's supposed to be. License plate for 2023 and a half and 24 models.
That looks way better. Custom.